Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow explorers. How are you? Welcome into the Psychic Explorer. This month's guest episode. I hope you're looking forward to it. I know I am. I'm going to introduce Meli to you in a moment. Before I do so, though, I want to just go into a little bit about something I've noticed recently. The last episode, I introduced you all to Sunday and Wednesday Explorers. If you're coming along to that, you are so very welcome. It's a place that I'm really enjoying holding, and it's a place where I can interact with new and different people. Every time someone new comes into the room, every time I watch someone read that I've not seen read for the first time, I'm always amazed at just how different everyone reads. There's that phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. And it truly, truly is, because not one medium reads exactly the same, which I find utterly mind-boggling. We all have our different quirks, we all have our different ways of doing things and saying things, and it gives me such pleasure to see people step into Sunday and Wednesday Explorers who may not feel very confident but come away feeling elated and feeling, oh, I did that. I was able to get that message across. I was able to really demonstrate my style of mediumship or my style of psychic work, or the way that I read tarot or oracle cards or whatever it might be. On the flip side, because there's always a flip side to it, and I'm suffering from that flip side at the moment, but I'm trying to choose to see it not as suffering, more as an opportunity to learn something about where I am at the moment. And that's what I say to people in the room. You know, when you have your off days, when you have your off moments, what did you learn from it? What did you learn? How did it feel when you were delivering that message and it didn't hit? How did that vibration shift within you? And I think it's really fascinating to see and to recognize where those shifts happen when you deliver a message that doesn't hit, or when you deliver a reading that isn't as punchy as you may have liked. Now, you know me, I almost revel in self-doubt. My guest today, Meli Guidance, doesn't seem to suffer from that. It's something which comes up in our conversation, which I say to her something like, where does your certainty come from? Like, have you ever not known? And she's like, no, I've always known. I love that, and I wish I had that. Meli specializes in Akashic Records and past life readings, something that is totally out of my wheelhouse. I have not yet, I have not yet delved into this topic. The first time I had ever come across the term Akashic Records was listening to a podcast a couple of years ago now. And this woman was talking about the Akashic Records and how you can go into them and they have all the records of, or all the memories of your previous lives, of where you're currently going, where you're at. And I have to admit, I found this concept really woo. It was something I was like, what? Because in my mind's eye, I saw this place, because that's the way it was being described. It was being described as a place, another realm, where you walk into this huge, massive library in the sky and you pull out this book, and it contains all the information of all the lifetimes your soul has experienced and is experiencing and is going to experience. It's a concept which I found a little bit too literal to take honestly seriously when I first came across this topic. But you will hear in the conversation that I had with Meli, me come to this realization that actually that is a judgment that I have, because it is something that has been explained to me through a third party in a way that doesn't fit the way that I would see it. And through conversation, I'm able to reinterpret and reanalyze and reimagine what this place might be, what these Akashic Records might be. And having conversations with people like Meli, with people like Kim Charleston, with people like Rob Lomax, these topics that they talk about in previous episodes that I'm not familiar with, that maybe doesn't resonate with me 100%, and I might have certain judgments about what they might be talking about. I love talking to them about this because it allows me to break down those judgments and teach me something about how I see these different topics and these different themes. And so I welcome to the Psychic Explorer Meli Guidance from Quebec, and I start this episode speaking a little bit of French, a tiny bit of French, but give it a couple of seconds and I very quickly switch back into English. I welcome to Psychic Explorer, the lovely, the wonderful Meli Guidance. Bonjour Meli, ça va?
Bonjour, oui, ça va bien, toi?
Oui, ça va bien, merci. You know, I've noticed when I do my French accent, my voice goes really high. I don't quite know what happened there.
We change personalities when we speak another language. That is proven.
You do, don't you? When I was in France and I was speaking French, I was this really cool cat. I was this really I don't know, I felt a different persona. And as soon as I switched back to English, I'm this geeky, this geeky Brit. And I'm like, oh no, it just doesn't work. Hello. It's so wonderful to see you and so wonderful to hear you because I do love a French Canadian accent. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Let's start, first of all, by introducing the wonderful listeners with yourself. Meli, who are you? What do you do? And how are you? Let's go from there.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Meli, and as Matt said, I have a French-Canadian accent, so I live in Quebec, Canada, with my husband and my teenage daughter. And I am a past life psychic and an Akashic Records reader. I am also the founder of Meli Guidance Academy, where I teach about channeling and reading your Akashic Records. I am a spiritual author. You can see one book right here, but I actually have 3 that are out and 3 others that will be out this year. So I like to create. I create, I have my blog, I have my podcast, I have my books, I have courses. So yeah, that is me.
I would say you are prolific, Meli. That is the word I would use, prolific.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Now, you said Akashic Records, and I have this written down as I said to you before we started this conversation, I want this conversation to be really natural and just sort of be very organic. So I've not given myself very many notes, but one thing that I have circled here is Akashic Records, because this is something I have heard lots of people talk about. This is a topic which I think I have many questions about, and I'm very interested to get into that. But I think before we go there, the whole point of the Psychic Explorer is to explore people's journeys, is to explore where they started, how they maybe viewed this spooky world that we are all exploring together before, whatever it was that catapulted you into this world. And maybe you were never catapulted. Maybe you were always in this world. But I'm really curious to know, where did this all begin with you, Meli?
Well, I was pretty much cut off from the spirit world by my own doing for a very, very long time. So what happened when we go way, way back is that when I was 5 years old, a spirit came in the room when I was sleeping. So it woke me up and the spirit started talking to me. And that got me quite frightened. So I didn't really see the spirit per se. I saw him through my third eye. So you see, I say him. I knew that he had masculine energy.
Interesting. So you could recognize that from straight away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I do not remember what he was talking about. I was 5, so that's a long, long time ago. But I was so scared. And he noticed that I was scared and he went, oh, well, okay, I'm going to leave your room for a few minutes. And when I come back, if you have your back turned to me, I will understand that you no longer wish to have contact. So he left the room. I turned my back and pulled the covers all over my head. So you know what I'm talking about, because I heard that you did the same for a while. And he came back in the room and he just went like, huh. And then he left. But the thing is that for the longest time, up until I was an adult, I would sleep this exact way on my back. I was so scared because I knew I was able to connect to something. I knew there was something else, but I really shut myself from all the spirit world at that time. And the morning after, I was trying to rationalize. And so I went to see my mom and I said, well, did you come to my room? She said no. And then I thought, oh, that's my brother, because my brother is 10 years older than me and he's very mischievous and he plays tricks on me. So I went to see my brother saying, hey, did you go into my room last night? Trying to be brave and casual about it. And he's like, no, I didn't go into your room in the middle of the night. So I was like, oh. Okay. So I tried to forget about it and tell myself like it was nothing. It was my imagination, but it really stuck with me. And when it sticks with you, like it's not your imagination, something is going on. And I can remember how during those times, maybe just before that spirit came through, there would be a man that I would see in my room through my third eye, and I called him the magician. Now, looking back with all my experience, I know that he was just a spirit wearing like old-fashioned clothes and a top hat. But I was 5, so for me, that was a magician outfit.
Yeah.
So when I would lose stuff in my room, not really losing them, but it was just stored away at another place, I thought, well, that must be the magician because that's what magicians do. Like my mom was like, there are no magicians in here. Like,
I love that.
It's
so
fun.
Innocent as well. That is so that's childlike, but so endearing as well.
Yeah. So I just lived my life, very normal life. For my parents, all psychics and mediums were all charlatans. So I didn't want to be associated with that. And that was like this up until I was 25 years old and I lost my father. So that's another thing we have in common. A lot of people, when we lose someone, we don't necessarily become psychics or mediums, but everyone has signs from them. So you realize that, oh, actually, our earth plane where we are and, the invisible plane, whatever you want to call it, well, it's close to us. It exists. And so my father passed away and he wanted to reach out to me one night and I knew it. And I said no, because I was too afraid. I didn't even say it. I went like, no. And I knew he could understand because a few years back, I watched The Sixth Sense with my parents. And I got so scared because somewhere I knew I could have this ability if I opened the door. And that was too scary for me. And I couldn't sleep. And so I was, I don't know how old, but maybe like 21, 22. And I went upstairs to sleep with my parents. And my father was like, I cannot believe this. She's an adult. What is she doing here? She's too scared to sleep in her room downstairs. I was like, oh. I was like, oh, so nervous. So my father knew that I was really scared of spirits, even though I knew it was my father. It was like, no, I cannot handle this. He's just brushed, I would say his fingers, but he didn't have fingers, but kind of his, I don't know, spirit on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, don't do anything more because that's too scary for me. So what he did is that I would have visitations in my dreams and it was really nice, really peaceful. And those were dreams that were more vivid than others and that had a specific kind of weight signification. So I knew that they were true visitations. And 6 months after he died, it was a beautiful sunny day in Montreal. I was living in Montreal at the time. And I went on to take a walk and I thought, oh, I'm going to walk up to the cemetery where my father is. And the more I was walking towards the cemetery, the more something felt like a no. Like even the energies felt like they were taking me back. Like, no, don't go to the cemetery. I thought that was very stupid. When I got to the door, the no was even stronger. So I went like, okay, no problem. There is another door. It's a huge cemetery. So I thought I will go around and try the second door. And the no was even bigger. And at that time, I was on Côte des Neiges Street. If you have any listeners who know that street, it's a huge street. I think it's like three lanes on one side and three other lanes on the other side. And I crossed it at a place where there were no intersections. And it was like Moses opening up the waters. Like nothing happened to me. Like there weren't even no cars. And I heard, go get the book. And I got a flash of the book Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. And there was a bookstore nearby. So I went to the bookstore to buy Journey of Souls. And in that book, Michael Newton explains that he was working as a, what do you call it? Hypnosis, regression therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Just to regress people into their childhood and see what unresolved trauma, things that they have buried, forgotten, that maybe they can go back to help them heal. But then he realized that some people were saying strange things. Not just one person, a lot of people. And he realized that he was so good. He was regressing them up to the afterlife and up to past lives. So what was astonishing was that all these people who are from different cultures, religions, belief systems, were explaining the afterlife and past lives in the exact same terminology. And everything that I was reading about our soul family, our spirit guides, afterlife, life reviews, soul plan, I was like, I know this. Yes, this is true. I remember, I know this. And I read the book in one reading, and that night I had a scary experience. So I just opened up to the spirit world again. And then I had an experience where my hands and then my arms started shaking. And I started to see blue light, which I know now that blue is for, elevated spirit guides, like the deeper, the stronger they are. And I screamed, no, never do this to me again. And I shut myself from the spirit world once again. So at 5, I shut myself down. At 25, I shut myself down once again. But I still believe in all this. And I still feel like there's something bigger than me.
Thank you for sharing your experiences, Meli. I think the loss of a parent, as you say, I know is profound. It is absolutely profound. What I find when I listen to you speak is that there is, and I said this to you before, there's a sense of absolute certainty, which to me is totally alien. Because when I get on this path, I'm thinking, yeah, but what if this is just grief? Or what if this is just my mind stepping in? Even in your beautiful recollection of what happened there, you're so certain. There's such certainty. Was there ever any doubt, or was there ever any question that grief could impact on what you were feeling and how you were feeling?
No, never. The thing is, I often get the message that I am here to help people remember. Like that's one of my biggest missions here. And I think this is why I have this certainty. I haven't mentioned it, but I remember I was 7 or 8 and I was looking out the patio window, looking at the skies, and it was like, I come from over there. Now, obviously, we don't literally come from the skies, but I had this notion that I come from another plane, the astral plane, and there's a group up there. I have a group up there that I belong to. And I remember asking my mom, like, oh, do you remember where we come from, looking at the skies? And she was like, oh, we don't really know where we come from. We weren't specifically religious, even though we've all had been brought up in Catholic religion because that's how it was at the time. Like you didn't question anything, like you were baptized and that was it. But she was like, no, we don't really know. So I always had this certitude within me.
You also used the word twice now, remember, that you remember. Go into that a bit more if you would. What do you mean by that?
I would say it's claircognizance, which means clear knowing. It's when you just know, either you know within yourself, or when you channel, you get a download of information. So if you channel your spirit guides, or if you channel for someone else. And for me, it's really that claircognizance, that it's the most obvious thing in the world, because we are first and foremost spirits. So that spirit state is the most natural to us, very much more natural than our physical state and us being on earth in our bodies.
I've never heard of claircognizance being used in a way that is similar to being to remembering, and I find that really beautiful, and I'm going to use that going forward. If you don't mind, I might borrow that from you.
Of course.
I really like that. That's really lovely. So you had these experiences at 5 and 25. Nothing at 15, no?
No, I was good at 15. With the teenage years, I had a lot going on.
Fair enough. How about 35? How about
35? Something happened there. My daughter was 4 years old, and it was a lot for me. I have a little bit of the caregiver soul type in my soul plan, but it's more like one of the below ones, and it's there to help me, yes, being a mom, but it's not taking care of others in that way isn't supernatural to me. Like giving so much of my energy to another being. And she was very fussy, and there were a lot of tantrums, and I felt like I didn't have any control, like I couldn't get the hang of it.
Yeah.
And at one time I screamed at her, and I had this out of body experience, seeing myself turning into a monster. And I went, oh my God, no. I want to be the wise mom who has, I don't know, good guidance and is calm. And I didn't want to turn into that monster. So I started meditating to be less stressed. And I wanted to be a better person. So I went in to look what books I could read. And I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which was life-changing. I realized how I wasn't in the present moment. And that was because I was brought up by someone who had such a hard time being in the present moment. So I had to kind of heal from that and work on that. And I'm still working a lot on that.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yes. It's part of the life journey. And I started to listen to a lot of podcasts. And I stumbled upon Oprah's podcast with past life psychic Ainsley MacLeod. And he was telling how we can all access our past lives, talk to our spirit guides, and everything he was saying was aligned to what was in Michael Newton's Journey of Souls. So I was like, oh, I really resonate with this. And he was saying that in his book, The Instruction, he actually explains how we can contact our spirit guides. So I bought the book, got to it. It was a total flop. I was super nervous. I was scared. The floor cracked. I screamed in my room. It took me a while to get the hang of it. Mm-hmm. I took courses, and then I felt ready to have a mentor, a one-on-one mentor, but I was still like, oh, most people are charlatans.
So just to pause you there quickly, when you say it was a total flop, what did you mean by that? Did you mean it didn't work for you, or it didn't resonate with you? What do you mean by that?
Oh, it didn't work. I wasn't able to channel any messages because I was too scared. And I was actually asking, what's my soul age? Like, what's my soul level? Because it's part of the Ainsley MacLeod's structure, the soul ages. And I thought I would get a number in my mind's eye, that it would be really clear, or that I would hear a number, that a spirit would come into the room. Like, I was thinking it was going to be all big Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, so your expectations were really high.
Yeah, and they were so far from the truth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a total flop.
Understood.
And then I was ready to work with a mentor, but I didn't want to meet a charlatan or, have doubt about someone. And those that I was admiring, they wouldn't do mentorship anymore because they got too big. Mm-hmm. And when I told that to my husband, he was like, "Oh, well, remember Melissa?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's a family friend that I met a few times. And every time I felt so at peace talking to her." And she used to work in something like social or communication. And he said, "Well, now she works as a psychic." And I thought, okay, she's my person. I trust her completely. So I got a mentor to develop my skills. I did some reading exchanges as well as part as a psychic course. And the people there were telling me, "Meli, the readings that you're giving us, they're professional level. You should really go ahead and offer your services." And I was like, "Oh, well, okay, if I have that talent, I'm going to offer my services." So I opened up an Instagram account and immediately hoped that no one would contact me.
I know that feeling. Yes.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, I'm out there, but I'm not, sort of half in, half out.
Yeah. Like, I'm there. You can DM me. I don't have a website. I don't even know how I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, yeah, fast forward 5 years later, here I am. So I used to work in translation. Well, funny thing, I used to work in marketing and communications in my 20s. And then in my 30s, I started working in translation proofreading, where you need to have systematic doubt when you do, especially proofreading, but yeah, translation as well. You need to have systematic doubt. And then in my 40s, I transitioned to doing psychic readings, where you need to leave the doubt out of the door, and you need to leave your analyzing, thinking brain out of the door. So that's really fun to juggle with those two. Right now, I'm still doing a bit of translation and proofreading, but like Meli Guidance takes so much more space. And my goal is that once I hit 50, I do that 100% of the time.
I want to just go back, if I may, Meli, just to a couple of things. I find it really interesting that at 5, at 25, and it wasn't until you were in your 30s, was it 35 you said?
Yeah.
It wasn't until then that you went into it. It's my belief, and I'm sure this is well established throughout the community, the industry, whatever you might call it, that we're here to learn lessons. We're here to learn lessons. We're here to have experiences and to evolve into what I have no idea, and how that works, I couldn't tell you. But what I find really interesting is that you had this knowing that you were from somewhere else, that this wasn't permanent, that home was somewhere else. And that whenever you fell into that, you recall from it and you lived life. Why do you think that is? Why didn't you lean into it more when you were 5 or when you were 25? Why when you were 35?
I'm actually navigating a fear of self-expression and a fear of rejection. There was a ton of people pleasing up until I started reading like Eckhart Tolle's book and Ainsley MacLeod's book and doing work with my spirit guides and realizing all of that. And if I was going to tell about my psychic abilities and open the door, that would have meant rejection. That would have meant, "Oh, you're so woo-woo." So that didn't happen. And I also think that my soul wanted to just live my life as well. As you said, like living a normal life, which I still do, by the way. Like, I enjoy movies and I'm reading and rereading the Heated Rivalry series. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a very normal, casual person. So when my work day with Meli Guidance is over, I rarely do any psychic stuff. I sometimes do. I'm going to pull cards once in a while. I meditate like 10 minutes almost every day. I do yoga, but it's more like that's for me. I stopped doing too much very soon because I realized that I was putting pressure on myself and I was doing it for others. Oh, I need to be this good psychic and do a ton of stuff. But actually, it was putting too much pressure. It was taking too much time in my day. I mean, I have a husband. I have a daughter. I'm here to live my life. So Yeah, does that answer your question?
It does, because again, it goes back to that life is lifey, and this is what we are here to do. And I think so many, and myself included, when we step down this path and we accept it and we are more open to it than we ever used to be, it's very easy to allow it to become all encompassing, to envelop us. And so last night I said to my other half, I'm really bored and I don't really want to watch TV. I don't really want to go to the cinema. I don't really want to do anything. I don't want to go for a walk. I don't know what I want to do, but I knew I just want to go upstairs and just do a practice session. But I knew that would be 2 hours away from him on the sofa. And I said to him, would you mind if I go upstairs? And he said, no, it's fine. And as soon as I said it, I thought, no, Matt, come on. You're here to live. You're here to be a partner. You're here to exist in the human body, and boredom is part of that. In a way, it's like, I think so, especially in this day and age of everything is on tap. You go online, everything can be at your door within 5 minutes. Instantaneous culture. To be bored is, and I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but to be bored is actually a skill that we've lost, I think. But what I find interesting is that every time you stepped into it, you step back from it and you live life, which is exactly what you're here to do. The other thing that I wrote down here is that your day job is a translator.
Yeah.
When people say to me, how does it work? My way of explaining it to people is I am nothing but a translator. This is like psychic charades. Like, I can get these images, I get these feelings, I get these words that come in, and it's down to me to translate them into human words. Does your bilingual language skills help you translate from psychic to words?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm a translator and I'm not an interpreter. I'm awful. Like, if I'm with people and I need to interpret on the spot, I don't find the words. But when I'm in my head, things go so fast. Like, I find the right words, like da 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 da. And it's the same when you channel spirit guides, like, and you get all these symbols that you have to decode. And I have symbols that my spirit guides know that I'm going to recognize, or they use symbols from oracle decks that I've been using for years, and they send me an oracle card or a tarot card, which is fun because, especially with tarot, because a lot of my clients know tarot, and I'm like, oh, okay, so what you're going through right now is a tarot card star moment. And because I know specific clients, I'm like, oh, you know what this means. And then I get the full picture. But yes, as you said, it's always decoding, but also I have a talent for communication in my soul plan, and everything is very much about communicating with others, different people. Like, when I was super young, I come from a francophone small village and nobody was speaking English. And it was like, I want to go to private school. That was it was further than where I was living. I needed to take 2 buses to get there. And I went into the English enriched program, which ended up being like one level over the enriched regular program, because our class was very advanced. There was a mix of half the people were Anglophones with Anglophone parents, and half of us were Francophones. So I was like, I need to speak English because I will be able to communicate everywhere in the world. And all the doors will be open for me. I also have a desire for freedom. And now with Meli Guidance, I'm doing everything in both languages, which makes things more complicated. Think about everything that you're doing right now. I do it twice, but I wouldn't imagine any other way. So for me, it's all about communication. And the one time that my spirit guide, my teacher guide showed up in a dream, the one time that I heard her, I watched her and I told her, communication is important, right? And she said, yes, it's important. But she said it and I heard it like it's more than clairaudience to me. I heard her with my physical ear. I heard her in the room and it woke me up. So I was like, every time my spirit guides are pushing everything and anything that is about communication. So To go back, yes, working as a translator and going very fast in my head helped me. It's just that when I work as a translator, I need to use my analytical brain and use systematic doubt, double checking everything, which I cannot do when I work as a psychic. Now, I don't work as a medium. That's very different. But when working as a psychic, like I just need to receive information and pass it on. And there's no validation with the person like you do when you do a mediumship session.
Do you find that having a foot in both worlds, in both languages, does that open up your frame of reference?
I have double the references, I would say. I even more than double, because I'm French Canadian, which means we've been invaded by the British. So I have British influence. I have US influence because they are our neighbors. And then I have that French Canadian culture, but also the French culture because my husband is French, but his parents actually moved to France when he was 3 months old. He is Asian. So I also have a bit of that. I have a mix of different cultures and different references, different expressions, different symbols. And so this is helping me because the more references and symbols you can work with, well, the spirit guides revel in it. They really like it. What is tricky is that sometimes I'm going to say, oh, I channel for example, the mid-month message for my newsletter. And I will say, oh, funny, this message came through in English only. But that's not really what happens. Like, they don't really speak English or French. They just speak energy. And it happened that day for me, it came through, I translated it in English, and that was easier for me.
Fascinating. Anyone that knows me knows I love languages. I think languages is so important. It's such a shame in the UK, we learn languages very, very late. And it's such a shame because, you know, you go to anywhere in the world, you're going to find someone that speaks English, and it makes us as Anglophones very lazy indeed. But I love it. I just love going somewhere and trying to speak it and trying to be and be understood. I think that goes the same with the spirit world. That's why I like to try and do this, because to me, it's almost like translation. It's almost like speaking a different language. And there's nothing more I love than when I'm speaking, go to France or go to Spain or wherever it might be, and you're trying to speak the language and you're understood and it gets you somewhere. I love that. I just love that.
Yeah.
Okay, you lovely explorers, we are halfway through this conversation with Meli Guidance. I really hope you're enjoying it. Just a few notices to break up this conversation. If you are developing your mediumship, your tarot, your psychic, your oracle card work, and you want somewhere to practice, I'm holding Wednesday and Sunday Explorers, 7:15 p.m. UK time. Details can be found in the show notes. Also, and I know I might be jumping the gun on this one, but this year has gone by so quickly already, I am already starting to compile stories for this year's Halloween and Winter Solstice episode. My dear explorers, if you have any tales or stories of encounters that you have had personally with the paranormal or the spooky, or even just the profound, I would love for you to share them with me. If you would trust me with your stories, I will put them together. And the same as last year's Halloween episode, friend of the show, John O'Angelo, will be back to listen to your stories and give you his take on what was going on. So if you want to do that, you can reach out to me on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Remember, the.psychic.explorer. Right, let's get back to Meli. So, Meli, you were 35, you were having this third awakening and you were stepping into your power. This is a phrase that I'm using a lot at the moment. I don't know why, it's just in my mind, is stepping into your power. You at the moment talk a lot about the Akashic Records. Could I invite you to educate me a little bit on what or how you see the Akashic Records? What are they and how can they be used?
Yeah, of course. Actually, at 35, it was my second spiritual awakening. And I consider that my third was more around when I launched Meli Guidance, and I was 41 at that time. And when I launched Meli Guidance, I wasn't doing any Akashic Records reading. I was still doing my mentorship sessions with my private mentor, and I was learning on the side about the Akashic Records. So for anyone who doesn't know at all what the Akashic Records are, they are a vibrational space that stores all the information about your soul from its inception, all the time on the astral plane with your soul family, your spirit guides, your past lives, the time where you return to the astral plane in between lives, the soul plan that you are making right before incarnating, gathering with your soul family and looking at what karma you want to balance, what life lessons you want to learn, but also more specific individual stuff like, okay, what are going to be my soul types, my soul missions, the past life talents that I will bring in this incarnation, what will be my desires, my challenges. So you decide all of that before incarnating. So when you go into the Akashic Records, you can tap into that because it's your soul's information. In the Akashic Records, you also get information to help you in your current life. So you can look at what your blockages are and where they are from, how you can heal them. I'm talking about past lives, but sometimes it's ancestral blockages, patterns. And you can also tap into potential futures. So there is no divination at all. It's not about divination in the Akashic Records. It's more about going really deep. But you can ask to be shown potential futures that align with who you are as a person in this incarnation. Or even I have some clients who are asking me, what about my future lives? Like, what's my plan for future lives? And I can tap into that. I can check the whole soul's life from level 1 up to where they are and up to where they think they would like to finish at the end of level 10.
So you're using words there, level 1, level 2 records. These are all very physical words. Mm-hmm. These are things which, in my mind's eye, and I know this is oversimplifying, but there's like a big library in the sky with lots of scrolls or whatever it might be. I'm sure it's not that. As you say, it's more energetic. But the way it's described, I think when I hear people use the phrase Akashic Records, if I'm honest, a part of me does go, I'm not sure, because of this image that I have in my mind of this big heavenly library or whatever it might be. But as I lean into it, as you're talking about it, I think that's my stereotype. That's my, my judgment on something that I don't understand. And I feel that many people probably have that. Is that something you come up against quite a bit?
Not really, because the people who come to me are into that stuff.
Just me then.
And, and I know you're not a troll, but I ask my spirit guides, protect me from trolls on the internet because they are there. Yeah. I would say, Matt, you're completely right. The Akashic Records, it's an energy. And what I've gathered from what my spirit guides told me and from near-death experiences is that our Akashic Records, the image that we get of them is an image to help us just go and explore them. They could be any type of image. And probably for you, when you think about that library and you think it's too obvious or basic, probably that it's because your Akashic Records take another form. Personally, in a past life, I would go in my Akashic Records and it was much more abstract, like in the cosmos. And right now in this life, I'm entering a tree. So for me, I'm in a tree, and then once I'm in that tree, I see like on the walls of the tree, it's like a bit of a library. I see books, and there is a stand where there's my book of life, but that the specific book of life I want to look at because I have so many past lives. There's a fireplace and there are logs, and I can sit there and meet my teacher guide. So when I want to meet her, we do it officially in the Akashic Records when it's for a bigger discussion. So the more I would go into my Akashic Records, the more the image would expand. But yeah, I could talk about my first experience, not my first experience, but my calling to the Akashic Records, if you wish to.
I think it'd be really interesting because I'm fascinated to know how you got there, not like literally physically, but on your spiritual journey. How did you get from looking at all these books to working with this? And just before we do, I think thank you for breaking that down, because when I ask these questions, I really don't want to be judgmental when I ask them, but I'm also conscious that these are questions that people do ask, and these are thoughts that people do have. And I love that actually when we break it down, when I think about it and lean into it more, is that it's just a frame of reference. Like the Akashic Records in inverted commas could be anything. They just happen to have the word records, which in my mind translates to this abstract image, which straight away sort of puts me off. Yet if I was to use a different word and I'll come at it from a different judgment or a different point of view, I would be so much more open to it and receptive. And I find, again, going back to translation.
Yeah. You know what? The word Akashic is the adjective. It comes from the word Akasha, which means ether.
That I can get on board with. Straight away, I'm like, yes, that makes way more sense to me. Yeah. And I'm on my path. I'm exploring. And still I have these judgments until they are confronted. And I confront them and I think, okay, let's look at a different way around them. And I love talking to people like you, Meli, because it gives me an opportunity to confront those judgments and look at things from a different point of view. I love that. Thank you for allowing me that.
And sometimes it's not so much judgment, but we each have our different purviews. And that's completely fine. Imagine if we were working with all the modalities in the psychic realm, like, oh, you need to do realms and pendulum and tarot cards and this and that. It's like, whoa, like you need to do something that resonates with you. And the Akashic Records are not for everyone, but everyone has their Akashic Records and everyone has the right to consult their records because they are theirs. So if you want to go and tap into them, like it's yours.
So how did you get there? How did you not end up, because this is an ever evolving journey, but how did you make a stop at the Akashic Records?
I actually say that I got the call, not the call, but I felt called by the Akashic Records. So I was checking out my Instagram stories and was I following her or maybe not, maybe it was just a synchronicities from my spirit guides, but she was saying, hey, I got this Akashic record from this woman. It was amazing. And the woman who was saying this, she's a tarot reader. So she wasn't doing any of that stuff. She doesn't even consider herself psychic. So she was saying, oh my God, like if you're feeling called by that, do go get an Akashic reading with her. So what I did is that I started following the woman who was doing Akashic Records reading, and I got really curious. And I bought a book on the Akashic Records and completely forgot about it. Until one weekend, we were going to the cottage and I bought at least 5 books that I haven't started yet, thinking I will start the one that I feel called to start. But oftentimes when I bring book about spirituality or psychic stuff, I'm like, feels like work. So I'm going to read something else. And at the cottage, I had an exercise that my mentor wanted me to do. She wanted me to go outside and connect with another plane, which I thought was very woo-woo, but I was going to do it anyway because, as I said, I trust her completely. So I was like, I have no expectations. I'm just, worst case scenario, I got a nice meditation out of it. I'm outside. It's beautiful in front of the river. Let's do it. So I was on the porch and there was a tree in front of me, like, I don't know, maybe 200 meters in front of me. So I could see the tree very clearly. And I was meditating, and I had to meditate starting with my eyes open. And suddenly my energy got sucked in the tree, and I closed my eyes because that was easier for me to see through my third eye. And I was in the tree and I was seeing gnomes. Not garden gnomes, but elemental gnomes. And they were going up and down the tree, a bit like, pop, 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 I'm busy, get out of the way. Pop, pop, pop. And I was like, whoa, this is freaky. What is going on? But I was quite pleased. I was like, oh, this is fun. Hi, guys. But they were ignoring me because, what I got as a download is that they were doing work that they thought was very important, and they were moving the energy up and down the tree, which is interesting because a lot of NDE, near-death experience survivors say that they notice how trees help people transition when they die. They help transitioning the energy if needed. And then I got sucked in deeper in the tree into the roots. And this is where I met kind of the elder gnome who seemed bigger and grumpier than the others. And he was meditating with his eyes half closed. And it's like, oh, there's someone there. And he started speaking to me. And I thought it was so amazing that I got myself out of the experience because I got too much kind of half excited, half in my head about this. But as I was taken out of the tree, I heard, go read the book. And I had a flash of a book about the Akashic Records, the book that I brought to the cottage. And so I started reading the book. And the author was saying it all started for her when she had a contact with a tree.
Isn't it amazing how these things work out?
Yeah. So to make a story short, as soon as I heard about the Akashic Records, I couldn't get them out of my head. I didn't take action right away when I bought the book, but it kept coming back to me. And once I had read the book, I started going into my Akashic Records. And then I felt called to get certified, which I did quite quickly. And I started Meli Guidance in May, and in November I was already certified. I think I maybe waited until January to offer my services, but when I offered Akashic readings, there was a big expansion for Meli Guidance. People were looking for that a lot.
I wonder if, and again, going back to my own self-doubt and my own sort of frame of references, I wonder if you were in a different environment, if you were in a cityscape, would you have been sucked into the inside of a building? Mm. The tree is way more nice and much more natural, but I'm wondering, frame of references, I'm wondering if that's, I don't know, maybe not. That's just, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe some people might be taken to different places, wherever they are, wherever they feel comfortable, wherever their frame of references might be. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I really don't know if that could have happened. To me, a tree is so alive.
Yeah.
And a building is not.
I don't know, in my head maybe on that one, but
Who
I do
knows?
love it. I do love it. And as you're talking about the gnomes and taking energy up and down, I was thinking, well, yeah, the sap that is going through the life force of a tree, going up and down from the leaves down to the roots. Absolutely. It's all there. It's just translated in different ways.
We can see the gardener's references here.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yeah. You can tell, can't you? You can tell.
Yeah.
How has it helped you? How has going into and diving into all this stuff, especially the Akashic Records, how has it helped you in your life?
It helped me look at my fears and my blockages and have a lot of curiosity as to why they are there and how to heal them. The thing is, with the Akashic Records, you go deep, and you can also go super deep with your spirit guides. But the Akashic Records, when you go to that energetic space, you actually start by connecting to your soul star chakra. Now, you might find this quite woo-woo, but yes, there is an 8th chakra. There are many others than the 7 main chakras. And to give an idea to people who don't know what that is, the topmost chakra energy center on your body is the crown chakra on the top of your head. And so you just go about 6 inches or so higher, and there's your soul star chakra. So you need to elevate your energies a lot more when you do Akashic reading. So we elevate our energies for psychic and mediumship readings, but you have to be very focused when you do Akashic Records reading, which, by the way, with experience comes super easily because I know you have a lot of mediums and psychics listening to the podcast. So it's the same with Akashic Records. Like, you get the hang of it and you don't need to meditate as much, cause you got so used, it's not your first rodeo and you get there like, whoop, more quicker than before. But yeah, so it makes me go really deep. I'm a spiritualist soul type, which means everything needs to have deep meaning in my life. And if I do something, like, it needs to matter and there's a reason why. I'm not good just following orders from people. And that's probably why I became like self-employed, being my own boss. Yeah, so for me, it's a tool for introspection and helping me understand myself better and ultimately be a better person.
I love that. As you were talking, the question occurred to me because you mentioned spirit guides. And I'm sure if you've heard my podcast, you'll know that at the moment, as it stands, I'm sure I have a team, but I'm not in active communication with them. What's the difference, in your opinion, between your spirit team who are there to support you and help you through and your Akashic Records? How can they be used either separately or even together?
They're always there with you. And it's funny because a lot of time when I meet someone and we talk about this, I get their spirit team that is there and feeding me information. Your spirit guides are there right now. I haven't said anything yet. Like, they laughed at some point when I think you were talking about translation or something like that. They gave me information. Sorry, I already forgot because we've talking about so much stuff.
That's
already.
Fine. No, you're good. I know that. So I know that psychic amnesia very well.
When you talk about like, I don't really have direct contact with my spirit team, they kind of laughed because they were saying, how does he think he's doing mediumship readings? Because they are facilitating the process. They are the ones, They are working with you. They acknowledge that you are not there talking directly to them, like you have another process, and we all have our processes and structures that we follow, and that's all good. But your spirit team is there with you. That being said, I completely forgot was what your initial question about it.
I'll repeat it, but what I'll clarify on that. As you're saying that, I understand what you're saying. I think what I mean is that some people will say, come on, guys, please help me with X, Y, and Z, or do this, that, or the other for me. I don't do that. I'm like, I don't. This is going to sound really judgy, and I don't mean it sound judgy for people who do this, but I don't rely on them to open doors for me or to do things. That's how I mean that my communication with them.
Nor should you 100% rely on your spirit guides, because you have your free will and it's your life.
Absolutely.
They are there for extra support. You do like benefit from their energy. The thing is, if you talk to them out loud, it's much more potent. But most people don't, and most people communicate with their spirit guides. When you have a strong desire, when you work a lot on a specific project, your energy that comes out is, this is important to me. Your spirit guides speak energy, so they tap into this, and if it's aligned with your highest good, your soul plan, they're going to orchestrate synchronicities for this to happen. So even though you didn't talk out loud to your spirit guides, or if you don't like the term spirit guides, we can just say the universe.
Yeah.
Quite the same. Like what you're putting out energetically, the universe gives it back to you.
The more we talk, Meli, the more I realize I have a problem with the language that is placed on these things. That is my, not issue, but that is my, again, going back to the word judgment. It's the word I have a problem with. It's not the concept, it's the word that I have a problem with. It's the connotations that the word has for me. That's what I have a problem with. And isn't that interesting? I think you have answered the question, because my question was the difference between spirit team or spirit guides and the Akashic Records. I think in what you just said, you've sort of answered that, I think. But if you think you can answer it more, then please feel free.
Yes. In your Akashic Records, you get access to the most elevated spirit guides, because in your spirit team, you have people from your soul family. So your soul family is the group of souls that you were born with. And in between lives, we are apprentice spirit guides, and we're helping our spirit family members who are incarnated because we know them so well. So you have ancestors helping you out. You also have like day-to-day spirit guides who are helping you out. Like that might seem really out there for you, but one day I had a podcast recording. I was invited on a podcast, but earlier than usual, and I don't have an alarm, and someone tapped on my shoulder and woke me up. So you have those spirit guides who are more like day-to-day spirit guides, but in the Akashic Records, you get the most elevated spirit guides. And this is where I meet with my teacher guide, but this is where it's much easier to channel Ascended Masters and Archangels as well. So it's a different type of guidance. It's deeper. Sometimes they're going to speak in parables, but you get that heightened, elevated wisdom in the Akashic Records.
Thank you so much, Meli. This is so fascinating. Looking back on your journey so far, is there anything that you would change? Is there anything that you would do differently? You look back when you were 5, you look back when you were 25, when you were 35. Would you do anything differently or change anything?
I wondered about that. I asked my spirit guides about the time when I was 5, and, I closed the door to the spirit world, and they were saying that my fear of self-expression, of rejection was so strong that having to deal with that during my teenage years would have been really, really bad. So I don't regret anything. Sometimes I'm kind of, when I was 25, if I wouldn't have freaked out, like something cool would have happened. So sometimes I'm like, oh, that could have been cool. And my spirit guide said, yes, it was a possibility. Like the door was literally open and it was my choice. But then they said it would have been good and bad when I became a mom, because I would have too much stressed about, the soul that I'm bringing into the world, and thinking about all that spiritual stuff. And I had the opportunity to be there with her from 0 to 10, not working as a psychic, not being too much focused on spirituality, but just living in the day-to-day and enjoying my time with her. And so looking back, no, there's nothing that I would change. And it was such a smooth transition, and it continues to be a smooth transition, that I'm fine with how things are going and how they went.
I think that is such a beautiful and valuable thing to highlight. When we look back, actually, just think about the alternative. Let's think about the alternative path that could have happened. And actually, it might not be as rosy as you might think. And I think the value of having that time with your daughter in a very grounded and very human relationship is something that you needed at that time, something that she needed possibly as well. And now that you're able to step into a slightly different light as she grows older, will allow her to have a mum who is well balanced in both areas, rather than just in one area, which I think is really
and
balanced.
And also,
really beautiful.
let's face it, I wouldn't have been able to do any readings with her when she was younger because they take up so much time. They're super noisy. They come in the room all the time asking you 100 questions, whereas now she's 15 and I just go and tell her, I have a reading. So do you want to stay put in your room and read a book, or do you want to go downstairs and play on your Switch or PlayStation? Yeah. And it's up to her to decide.
Either way, just be quiet.
Yeah, but she's a very quiet teenager, so she's like, yeah, no problem. I just text her and my husband when I'm done, and they can do as much noise as they want after that.
Brilliant. I have really enjoyed today, Meli. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for, I know that you reached out to me, and I think it's so wonderful that you did. I'm really glad that we did this. Thank you so much. Do you have anything to pass on? I'll give the final, I'll ask where people can find you afterwards, but the final bit for you, is there anything you want to say, anything you want to leave the dear listeners with?
I just want to tell people that what they feel about, their past lives and where they come from, they're not just odd thoughts that they're having. If these thoughts are coming to them, it's real, and it's all little kind of inklings there to help them remember where they are from. And if they're having any hits about maybe their karma, their soul missions, it's because it's important for them to work on this. And maybe it's even important for them to reconnect with their spirit team if the pull is very strong.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
They can find me at meliguidance.com. So that's my website. And on socials, it's at Meli Guidance, YouTube as well. I have the Mystical and Practical podcast because I'm guessing they like to listen to podcasts, so they can go check that out as well.
I would really recommend it as well. What I love about your podcast is, again, going back to that certainty. You have such confidence, and I love it. It's really grounding. Thank you so much for today, Meli. I've really enjoyed it, and all the very best. Take care.
Thank you.